Hello and welcome once again to WKNI TV 25 live at lunch, and we have our guest today, Chief McDonald. Chief, thanks a lot for coming in.
Good to be with friends.
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm not putting that, when you come in from now on, you're sitting over there.
Why?
You're mean, man. I'm sitting there, I have looked through the camera at you, and I won't do what he did, folks. But
I was just sitting over here dozing.
you know, I wouldn't do this, and you know, Kevin has taught you wrong. Kevin has corrupted you. It's Kevin's fault.
You think he's a bad influence?
He's a very bad influence. Now, if you had his wife as the assistant chief, you'd have everything done over there like that.
I tell you what, I've really, truly been blessed having the assistant chief I've got.
Oh, please.
And my shift supervisors.
Well, you got some good ones there now. Your investigators.
They do a real good job. Mark Kaiser, of course, captain and in charge of investigations, and they stay fairly busy. And you're only as good as what your folks are.
Right.
You know that.
Well, we pick on Kevin, and rightfully so. I mean, he's a great guy. I mean, you know, when you say you can't find him any better, that is a true statement with him.
Well, Kevin, you know, his first concern are those officers. Mm-hmm. He's very loyal. He sets high standards and just blessed with a great deal of common sense.
But I still say that's all his wife's upbringing.
You think?
I think.
He might be a little scared of her.
I know he is. But no, he's a great guy, and we always pick on him. It's just like a couple other folks in law enforcement that we've known over the years, and Kevin has been a real good young man. And I was so impressed that you picked him, or he was appointed as your chief. I was in total awe or assistant chief. And,
you know, Kevin's been there a long time.
He sure has.
He's still a young man, but I believe Kevin started just about the age of 18
right.
as a communications officer and went to patrol. He had a brief stint with the Covington County Sheriff's Department. He's been in the Drug Task Force. He's been in investigations. He's been a shift supervisor. So I think it's suffices to say that he has had a wide array of experience.
Well, I don't want to get Gigi in trouble, but Gigi told me one time that she used to change his diapers. No, I'm just
Probably talking about some of our youth, huh?
Back when he started. You were so young when he started, is what I'm saying.
Well, he is.
I'm in so trouble.
Hey,
you know, if I go through the city of Op, I'm going to be number 7 on 6 in your jail. Chief, great department over there. There's no controversy. There's nobody saying this is bad, this is great, or whatever. Y'all are doing your job out there. You're patrolling the streets. The citizens of the community are very humbleized when I talk to them about the department that they have serving them.
Well, I'm just, you know, of course, very happy to hear that. Very honored, very humbled to hear that. You know, we have our problems just like anybody else does. Whenever you get more than 2 people, there are going to be some problems. But again, I think that simply goes back to the leadership we have over there. And I'll tell you, you know, we got our last officer last Thursday out of the academy. We're at full strength, and we are blessed with the officers that we have over there. We have some tremendous young men and women that are working for the Op Police Department.
And your turnover ratio is almost nil.
It has really slowed down, which is a great thing. And that goes back to being blessed. We're blessed with what we have.
Well, Chief, we're going to take a quick break real quick and get back on a real serious matter of, you know what, it sounds like we're going to have to start turning out convicts if we listen to what's going on around the country and in the state of Alabama, or we're going to have police officers not making arrests because there's no place to put them. And I want to talk to you about that when we come back.
Okay, great.
All right, sir. All right, folks, we'll be right back with more with Chief McDonald right after this, live at lunch with WKNI TV on the Square. Good afternoon and welcome back to WKNI TV 25. It's 17 minutes before the hour of 1 o'clock. We're live at lunch with Chief McDonald from Op PD. Chief, once again, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for the invitation.
Our new studio. You were the last one we interviewed at our old studio, and we wanted to get you in as our first one here. But people beat you to it.
Well, I think it's neat to be the last one in the old one.
Well, it was. We're gonna put pictures up of that as we sell the old building.
They'll know the pest control was taken care of.
Well, yeah, no, you left some behind. Oh no, let's don't do this. We got to stay serious here for a moment. Chief, you made news the past couple of days, and I wanted to talk to you about that. It generated a phone call to you, and we're realizing there's a lot of problems when we called you. That we read several stories today that there is a problem in the state of Alabama. Actually, it's across the country with housing of inmates, and your situation that's been announced that you're cutting a deal with Geneva County to house your misdemeanor inmates there at a lower rate than what the sheriff charges here in Covington County. Can you tell us about that and what generated that and where it stands?
Well, of course, I'm under a charter from the mayor, Mayor Bartholomew, to do anything I can to reduce costs to the city. And really, in terms of the situation with contacting Sheriff Greg Ward over in Geneva County, I've known Greg for years and years and years. Really, we haven't done a whole lot yet. What we're doing is we're exploring possibilities. And there's a possibility that I might be able to house, and what I'm looking at is our sentenced prisoners that have been sentenced on misdemeanors in the Opp Municipal Court. There's a possibility I might be able to house some of them in the Geneva County Jail, which of course would reduce some of our cost. You know, I had one person come up to me the other day after they, of course, saw it in the news and all and said, are y'all having a problem with the Covington County Jail? And absolutely not.
Right.
Those folks handle a vast majority of our prisoners, and we've never had a problem with them. And so I guess the next question comes up, well, you and Sheriff Meeks having a problem? Well, absolutely not. We work closely together on several different things. And the Covington County Sheriff's Department's always been there for us. And we try to be there for them. And it's worked out quite well. What I'm looking at is a prisoner that is sentenced by the Opp Municipal Court for any substantial period of time to perhaps house them either in our jail or the Geneva County Jail. That way we can reduce some of our cost. And this is what we're looking at. This is a problem that agencies not only in Covington County but across our state and country are having, is the cost of incarceration. The county's either having to pay the cost or the various municipalities are paying the cost. This doesn't involve, as an example, someone that we place under arrest. We don't house female prisoners in our jail. We place a female prisoner or female under arrest, and they have to make a bond. They go to Covington County Jail. We arrest someone that's not going to make a bond, a male prisoner, or they appear to be somewhat problematic. We don't keep them in our facility. We take them to Covington County. So simply, if we decide to do this, and it's really in the exploratory stages at this point, we'll be looking at people that have been sentenced by our court for a period of time that makes it cost effective for us to transport them to Geneva County Jail.
Chief, it's an ongoing problem, and a lot of people don't understand when I read the JDR in the mornings and in the afternoons now, that when I say Opp and Andalusia reported a quiet evening with Opp reporting 6 in their jail, people go, they have a jail in Opp, and yes, you most certainly do, and you do keep the, let's say, the more likely ones not to be a problem in that jail when you can. Is that correct?
If it doesn't involve an extended period of time. You know, again, our facility is nothing like the Covington County Jail.
How many does it house?
Do what?
How many can you house?
We can house about 14.
Wow.
But again, the Covington County facility is much better for housing a prisoner. So we're very careful what we try to house. And again, we take people over to Covington County all the time. We're going to continue taking people to Covington County. But we do want to try to do something about our sentenced prisoners that'll help reduce our costs, because we don't want to be in a situation where we have a person that needs to be incarcerated but a decision's made, oh gosh, well, we're not going to incarcerate them because of the cost. We do that, we start doing the public an injustice. And that's happening across the country right now.
That's what I was going to talk to you about. That's a danger that we have. Not only that, but let's not forget what happened at the beginning of this year. And that was through, what do they call it? The federal government's cutting, what do they call that? There's
Basically injunctions.
Well, that, but the funding for our mental health system was cut out. Just about, it was gutted. We had Mike Jones Jr., our representative, on here several times talking about it, and there's no place to house a mentally ill patient right now. We used to have Cersei as a place where people would go. And
Bryce?
Right, and they've shut these places down. We're looking at, or hearing reports that people are being housed here locally in another facility that has they need to be housed in a locked up, secure area.
A secure facility. And certainly, I can't advocate a jail facility being a good place to put a mental person.
Right.
It's just, that can do more damage than good. But what we're running into now is simply, we have not had a good reporting system from the mental health folks, as an example, in terms of people, that they're okay to buy a gun.
Right.
The Alabama state law basically says that if you have severe enough mental problem, by law you can't buy a gun. And well, that's not happening because of the lack of a reporting system. Now, people that really need in-house care as a result of mental evaluation, it's going to be much tougher. And this is a problem that the mental health people are struggling with. The odds are, in other words, there's going to be people released back on the street with outpatient care that really need the in-house care.
Chief, this goes back again to where you made a statement a moment ago that it would not be fair to the citizens of this community or anywhere where an officer would have to weigh whether or not he should arrest somebody because of the financial situation of incarcerating that person.
Well, that's not going to be a problem. We're not going to weigh that.
But it is happening.
If a person needs to be arrested,
Not here.
we're going to arrest them. Now, it's up to the court and others to determine their disposition. It leaves our hands, and it goes to them in terms of what the disposition is going to be. And we're trying to, as an example, we have a diversion program which we have really regenerated that is going to try to make alternative dispositions on some of these cases. A lot of that disposition will be to try to send them to the right place to get help, whether it's anger management, some type of drug abuse class, some type of mental counseling. We're going to try to do that. We've done the same thing with our traffic cases. You know, I, for one, realize that we're in a depressed area. We know that. The whole country is becoming a depressed area, but I think we can probably safely say that within our part of the country, we've been depressed for a long time. So instead of paying traffic fines, instead of having the traffic offense go on to their traffic history, where the potential for the insurance company to raise their rate exists, we've got a driver school that we've started that's sanctioned by the Alabama Traffic Safety Institute. And we're going to try to provide them an alternative way of disposing of that case. So there's several things we're trying to do. And I can tell you that if you talk to Sheriff Meeks, his jail, he's staying at capacity or above pretty much all the time.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And most of those folks are going to be people, that's where they need to be. If you talk to our DA, Walt Merrill, he will tell you of the trials and tribulations that he's gone through in terms of trying to get those people that belong in penitentiary into penitentiary. There's, I'm sure, some real horror stories there. So it is a systematic thing. It doesn't stop at one level or begin at one level. We're all in this at this point together, and we're all going to have to work together to find the most viable solution. But it is a problem. You and I were discussing earlier, I guess the first part of this week, California was ordered to turn 10,000 inmates out of prison.
Not so nice people.
you know, if they're in prison, there's been some problems.
Yes.
Well, they're going to get out of prison, and one, with a depressed economy, they're not going to jump right into a job. Secondly, I'm sure that they have a really fine probation and parole system in California, but you're fixed to put 10,000 more people right squarely into their laps.
Right.
How are they going to handle that? Our probation and parole people here are overwhelmed.
They're struggling every day.
You know, they're overwhelmed. So it is a problem for the public as well as a problem for us. We're going to continue with our marching orders and do what we're supposed to do. And I'm sure that anyone that's involved with us with a person, whether it's the DA's office, the sheriff's office, or anyone else, is going to do what they need to do. But it has become a problem for us.
Chief, one of the things I want to make sure nobody misunderstands about this is that nowhere is our community, from any agency that I've talked to. I talked to Sheriff Meeks earlier today. I've been in constant contact with Chief Williams here in Andalusia, and you, of course. And nobody's saying that they're going to do less of a job. They're
Well,
going to continue, right? They're going to continue doing their job. However, we need to make some plans here down the road of what we're going to do. And what you're trying to do with your department is save money, as far as looking for another option and you know, work things out. Now, I'm not going to get into the politics of that, because you know what Sheriff Meeks may charge versus over another sheriff, and so on and so forth. And Sheriff Meeks is running a great facility over there. Him and Preston have done a wonderful job with that jail. I'm a former employee of that jail, and I can tell you it is 10 to 1 over what it was when I was there. And you know, they're doing a fine job. One of the things that was brought up in one of the newspaper articles that I was reading earlier is that some people are considering ankle bracelets, which keep people on home arrest. And I know Coffee County went to that on some of their lesser cases. Do you see that as an option here locally?
Well, it may be. It would be something that certainly would have to be researched, because you're going to have somebody monitoring the location of these people.
Right.
You're going to have to invest the money into buying the ankle bracelets and the system that will monitor them. I've got to tell you, I can't speak from any degree of intelligence on that, because I've not ever been involved with that. But I'm sure there would be some real considerations with that.
Well, one of the options, or several of the options I saw that when I was talking with the sheriff over in Coffee County a couple of years ago when they went
Sheriff
there,
Sutton?
Sheriff Sutton, fine man, was that when they're at home on home arrest, there's a company that monitors them. They get the whole unit and everything, and monitoring per person so much per month, okay? And it breaks down to a couple of dollars or whatever a day on that. The other good thing about it is when they're incarcerated in the county jail under you and they're sick, you have to pick up the tab on the hospital bill most of the time.
Well, that's if they're incarcerated and they're a sentenced prisoner from OP, or they are a prisoner that's awaiting trial on OP charges, it's our bill.
Right. Whereas if they're on the bracelet at home, okay, it's their responsibility to get medical care. And so that's a big plus as well. So I'm not advocating the ankle bracelet, but I'm saying there are other options out there.
Well, I know that, you know, Sheriff Meeks, as an example, keeps a nurse in the jail. Mm-hmm. I want to say it's from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. And of course, a lot of times the nurse can address the problems that the prisoner has.
Right.
But there are certain cases where the nurse can't address that problem. They need a higher level of care. And I can remember a time when county jails didn't keep a nurse in there.
I was
but
there.
It's just become something that they have to do, which of course is an additional expense to the taxpayer. But there again, it also reduces the bill the taxpayer may have to pay.
Right. Well, when I worked there, the guards distributed the medications to the inmates. There was a morning call for the nurse or doctor, whoever happened to come in, and it was brief, and that was it. A lot of people that were incarcerated, when they needed medical care and they felt they were really sick, they would actually demand to go to the hospital, and if somebody's really sick, you can't deny them going to the hospital.
Well, when you have a nurse look at them, they can pretty accurately, I think, make
Right.
a determination as to whether the higher care
their
is
responsibility.
required or not.
Right.
So, I mean, it's a great system. but it's a system that, of course, is going to cost the taxpayer money. And again, there's just certain things that you have to provide for your prisoners.
Right.
And in terms of them as opposed to a municipal jail doing it, in my opinion, they're much well suited.
How many inmates off the top of your head right now do you have over in the Covington County Jail?
Oh, I'm not quite sure what we have over there that's sentenced. I'm sure we have several that are either awaiting trial. And in many cases, as an example, a unit will make a traffic stop. They may end up arresting someone for DUI or whatever, and then find out there's been a probation hold put on them.
Right.
So actually they're under dual charges.
So if they're held by, let's say you got them for a DUI and they can bond out on that, and then they're held over for violation of probation, who is responsible for
If
that?
they bond on our charge, then of course it goes back to the state and the
Okay.
county. If they're held on our charge, of course it's still our charge. We have to
Right.
pay for it.
Well, Chief, again, we can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming in and discussing this. Lots of things going on out there, folks. I'm telling you, times have changed, and
Well, they have.
and there's a lot of. Is there more criminals? Is there more crime, or is it just that we're being nicer and not? I hate to use the word nicer, but you know, giving people a place to live instead.
It really depends on whose statistics you want to believe. I think there's probably more crime. I think that it's probably generated or driven by the economy in many cases. And of course, it's certainly driven by drug usage. And it's an area that we're going to have to keep massaging and do the best we can. I know that the sheriff's doing what and he has a two-pronged battle to
Yeah.
fight. You know, he's got enforcement duties that his deputies have to carry out. And actually, it's three-pronged. He's also got papers that must be served. Well, then he's got the jail over there. And, you know, Preston
He's
has...
actually got 4. Then he's got Eddie to contend with.
That's true. But, you know, he's got Preston over there in jail, and they're doing what they need to do. We're going to try to do what we need to do. And, you know, in terms of the original issue, we're doing exploratory work right now, seeing if there's a way we can save the taxpayer some money. But we're going to have to continue to use the Covington County Jail because that's the best facility around in terms of housing many of these folks. And that's what we intend to do.
Well, Chief, thanks again for coming in and
Appreciate
making that
it, Eddie.
clear. God bless you. Appreciate your men and women over there at OPD. Mayor Bartholomew, you have one heck of a law enforcement department over there, and we're proud to call them friends on some and professionals, all of them. And Chief, just wonderful people over there. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Eddie.
Folks, remember this live broadcast is every day at noon. We do the news, and we hopefully have a guest. We'll have them come in at 12:30. We'll be live again at 5:30 this or is it 5:30? We changed the times. 5:30 this afternoon. We'll be live once again here from the square, and then tomorrow morning once again live at 7 and noon and 5:30 again. The 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock newscasts will be portions of the newscasts that we've done live during the day. If anything has changed, any updates have happened, any breaking news has happened, we'll definitely make sure it's in those 7 and 10 o'clock newscasts. Remember, folks, keep it real. Keep God in it. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.